Yo, we want a time, yeah, we going back in style. Billy Piper Rose smile with the knife, Dr. Wow. Step in the TARDIS fast, echoes of the past. Rose and Doc they blast through time zones so vast. London streets they run, aliens for fun. Old tons off the gun, episode once begun. Timey, Wimey, rewind, Rose and Doc combined. Reliving through the grind, moments we will find. Plastic all around, danger in the town. Ninth Doc laying it down in his leather bound gown. Riding through the year 2005 is clear. Echoing the cheer for Rose, the crowd will steer.
Hello and welcome to Timey, Wimey Rewind, brought to you by Cult Classic Society. We're here to break down every episode of Doctor Who, and we're doing it, Tim. We're starting. This is the official episode 1. The last episode was episode 0. This is episode 1. We're talking about Rose.
I'm excited for this. I can't wait to get stuck in with more Doctor Who goodness.
Let's do some introductions. First, introducing me, your host, a cocky stranger that shows up out of the blue to save the day and looks great in a leather jacket, Bobby Davies, and my co-host, a person with an unconvincing plastic face who jumped out of a bin, Tim Martini.
I know your game, Bobby. I know your game.
What? What did I do?
I hate to say it's accurate, but you know it's.
Right, Rose, let's jump straight into it. Like we said with the Doctor Who movie, we've probably got a bit of a longer one here than will come to be the standard, but let's dive in. So, starting with who wrote and directed this, written by Russell T Davies. He's going to write most of this first series, I think. He's the one who brought it back, which we got a few notes on in a minute. We'll get to that. Directed by Keith Boak. I don't know who that is, but he did a very good job.
Yeah.
So, initial facts. This was the first Doctor Who production by BBC Wales and the first main timeline episode of Doctor Who since 1989. Bearing in mind, this came out in 2005. So that's a long old fucking time. That's 16 years.
Yeah, Jesus.
In the time between this and the Paul McGann, there was obviously the Paul McGann TV movie, which we discussed already. There was Scream of the Shouker, the animated one with Richard E. Grant. There was The Curse of Fatal Death, the comic relief special, starring Rowan Atkinson, Richard E. Grant, Jim Broadbent, Hugh Grant, and Joanna Lumley as all different incarnations of the Doctor that kept dying and regenerating. Which, as a fan, if you go back and watch it, is quite a beautiful little ode to the series.
Yeah, I think it's actually like a well done parody where it lists off like all the tropes of Doctor Who, but not like punching down at it. It's more a celebration of Doctor Who.
It's quite lovingly done, I think.
Yeah. Wasn't that written by Stephen Moffat, actually?
It was indeed written by Stephen Moffat. I was thinking we'll cover it at some point. It's only very short, but we'll do it.
Yeah.
This was originally broadcast on the 26th of March 2005 on BBC One and was watched by 10.81 million people, which is apparently a 44.84% audience share, which is ridiculous. It's the most watched first episode for any Doctor, and it even beat Robot, which was Tom Baker's first as the fourth Doctor. Tom Baker, but to this point, being the most popular Doctor. And it wasn't beaten by David Tennant's Christmas Invasion. It wasn't beaten by The 11th Hour or Deep Breath. It eventually was toppled, though, as the most watched story by a new Doctor, by The Woman Who Fell to Earth, Jodie Whittaker's first story.
I'm actually really glad to hear that.
Underrated, that one. Banging episode. Now, the series come under many false starts, Timothy. There was nearly another TV movie, codenamed Doctor Who 2000, which had Russell T Davies attached to it. Then the new higher-ups at the BBC were trying to tempt Russell over from working for Channel 4 when he was doing Queer as Folk to come work for them. Didn't work out because the licenses sat with BBC Film for some reason and didn't sit with BBC Drama. And I don't know why you couldn't just send them over.
Yeah, swap them over, yeah.
I don't know why. They're both BBC. There must be some issue, but they could have only done a TV movie and they decided not to do it. The original pilot for this episode that Russell T Davies had planned was that Rose would be an office cleaner who found a dinosaur in the office basement, and the Doctor would show up and save her using a window cleaning crane, which we know in a very future episode, the Doctor does use a window cleaning crane to escape.
Yes.
In what's the adipose one called? What's that called?
Partners in Crime.
Partners in Crime. Oh, look at you, off the top of your head. Proud of you. There were some limited animated webcasts that went out, and between the film and this episode, and the people who made those wanted to do a new series of Doctor Who as well. And do you know who they wanted as the Doctor?
What would it have been, Paul McGann at the time?
No, they wanted Stephen Fry.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I can imagine it, but I can imagine he would be a lot like the original series Doctors, or some of them anyway.
Yeah.
He wouldn't. I don't think he would have fit in with this modern line of Doctors.
No, absolutely not.
Mark Gatiss tried to get a version started where the companions would have been a police officer and a uni student. That didn't get off the ground. Then we had the Scream and the Shouker, which was officially, when it came out, that was the next part of the canon. Richard E. Grant's Doctor was going to be the Ninth Doctor. And then that kind of got retconned out.
But then retconned back in thanks to Rogue.
Yeah, it must be one of those like split timelines that Russell T Davies has basically set up now.
Yeah.
The head of BBC Wales Drama, Julie Gardner, and a BBC exec named Jane Tranter approached Russell T Davies about making this new series, and that's how it got brought back. Michael Grade, who was the head of the BBC in 1989, who cancelled Doctor Who originally, got a new higher-up role in the 2000s after leaving from it and coming back, and actually tried to get this series cancelled when it was in pre-production. He didn't succeed, obviously. They'd gone too far. Essentially, they'd put a lot of money and time into it already.
Yeah.
And obviously, it turned out to be massively popular, and he's wrong on a bell end. You hear me, Michael Grade? Anyone tries to cancel Doctor Who, you're a bell end. I'm going to go through the cast. Do you want to take us through the cast? Have you got your...
I do. So we have Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor. We have Billie Piper as Rose Tyler. Camille Coduri as Jackie Tyler.
I think Kaduri is how it's pronounced.
Kaduri.
I think.
Okay. Kaduri, Coduri, well, either or, as Jackie Tyler, Rose's mum. Noel Clarke as Mickey Smith. We have Nicholas Briggs as the voice of the Nestine Consciousness.
Very nice.
Mark Benton as Clive. Eli Garnett as Carolyn, that's Clive's wife. Adam McCoy as Clive's son. And then playing the Autons, we have Alan Roscoe, Paul Casey, David Saint, Elizabeth Floss, Helen Oatsway, Joe Osmond, and Lisa Osmond.
You went into some detail. I've only got the big four.
Oh, no, I'm giving everyone their credit here.
So let me break down some of the big four and what they were known for by this point. Chris Rexton has starred in 28 Days Later, Shallow Grave, and the thing that I remember him from, and as a kid, I saw it when I was a kid and wanted to watch it again, didn't know what it was called. It was The Second Coming, which was also Russell T Davies, I think. And it was about Jesus coming back, and it was Christopher Eccleston who was Jesus. But he didn't realise he was the Second Coming until later in his life. I don't normally like these again. I'm not one of this person was considered for the role, but interesting. It's interesting when it's the Doctor, I suppose.
Yeah.
But Hugh Grant and Bill Nighy were both heavily considered.
Yeah.
Billie Piper playing Rose Tyler, as you said. She hadn't done much acting up to this point, was known for her singing career.
Yeah.
And do you remember the song, Because I Want To?
Yes.
Billie Piper's big hit. Only 7 million plays on Spotify. That is shocking. Shocking.
Deserves more.
It does. Georgia Moffat was actually considered, which is also, again, I normally hate these, but it is interesting because we know she went on to play Jenny, the Doctor's daughter, and then marry David Tennant, and is also the daughter of Peter Davison. So
yeah,
both Doctors. Crazy. That girl's life. Camille Coduri as Jackie Tyler, Rose's mum. She's got a career dating back to 1987.
Wow.
But my favourite thing she's been in is a TV show called Him and Her, which is a comedy starring Russell Tovey and Sarah Somani, along with Joe Wilkinson and Kerry Howard. Kerry Howard is Russell Howard's sister.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with She and Him, the Zoe Deschanel and M Ward band. Different thing. Noel Clark as Mickey Smith. I think we should just get this out of the way in the first one. He's currently in court over some allegations. He's massively denying. It's still through the court. We're not going to say anything about it. You know, we don't know what happened. They don't know what happened.
Yeah.
It's not been proven anyway, and it's not been disproved anyway. There's just allegations against him. It's going to court. But he was primarily known for the Kidulthood series, which I think he wrote and produced. Yeah.
I think at this point it was just Kidulthood.
Just the first one, yeah. But the second and third one came out after Doctor Who, but at this point, that film was massively, like, again, it was a cult classic.
Yeah.
So, what was going on in the real world? March 2005. This episode is set over March 4th and 5th. And during that time, Is This the Way to Amarillo by Tony Christie and Peter Kay was number 1. Garlic bread and being unfunny. That is what Peter Kay is known for. I am fucking dreading Love and Monsters.
Oh, God. You had to remind me of the episode already.
I did. Animated film Robots was top of the box office, starring Ewan McGregor, Halle Berry, Mel Brooks, Robin Williams, Paula Abdul, Jim Broadbent. There's his name again, twice already in the first 2 minutes. Amanda Bynes, Drew Carey, Jennifer Coolidge. Loads of people were in that movie.
Underrated movie.
I've not seen it.
It is an underrated comedy. It is really good.
So, no big news that I could find from March 2005, but February 2005 was a big month. It's the year YouTube was launched, Tim.
Oh, God. It's almost 20 years old.
What were you doing around this time, March 2005?
So I would have been 6, turning 7 in a couple of months. I was probably in primary school.
Oh, do you remember that age, Tim?
This would be... Wait, if I was 7, I'd be in year
1 or
3?
2.
Yeah, no, 1. No, I'd been year 1 at this point. Yeah, yeah. We had in year 5 we had year 1 we had a pet toad because we literally got tadpoles and we'd watch it go from tadpole into a toad. So by the end of the year, we had a pet toad.
Oh, was this a class pet?
Yeah.
Nice.
Not me personally, the class had it.
2005, Tim. That is March 2005. I was 16. I was rocking out in my very first band. We were called Playground Mafia, and we were awesome, and we also sucked. It's hard to know.
Was that your band's catchphrase?
Yeah. We're awesome and we suck. You know what? It was good fun, and I'm still really good friends with 2 of the guys I was in that band with. They're 2 of my best friends. They were groomsmen at my wedding, and I love those guys.
That's good. Hopefully they're watching this podcast.
The other one can suck it, but...
All stories in the end. Just make it a good one, eh?
You want to get started on the... Right, we're going to go into it, Tim. Plot breakdown. You want to get started?
Sure thing. So we are introduced to Rose Tyler, a 19-year-old shopping assistant who is just going through her day-to-day life there at the department store. She has to go and return the lottery scratchings to the chief electrician.
This is why I don't let you do anything, Tim. You've skipped a fuckload.
How? This is just a montage.
Yeah, but she's gone for lunch with Mickey. Mickey's the main character.
Oh, so get to Mickey later when he's more of a character, not just a brief moment.
Well, I was going to say one thing though. Lots of old fucking buses, and I know it's 2005, but these buses look like they're from the fucking 70s. I didn't even think we had in 2005. We had the Oyster card, I think, did we? So I don't think we had the jumping on the back of buses and tapping. Oh.
No, 2005 we still did, but this is mainly in central London. They still had them.
Did they?
Yeah.
You probably spent more time in central London than I have.
Yeah, I remember them still being a big thing around that time. I don't think there was still a big thing until 2006 where they're okay, front only.
Yeah, because people were jumping on and not paying, I assume.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on then. Keep going.
So Rose goes downstairs to find the chief electrician. He's not in his office. And she starts going down the corridor. So she's hearing all these strange noises. And she's seeing shadows of people moving, but all she sees is just mannequins. But then all of a sudden, these mannequins start to move towards her.
And scare the
Slowly
shit
and
out of
menacingly.
her.
Yeah, and she is obviously thinking it's a prank at first. But then as one raises his arm and goes to swipe at her, she's grabbed by the hand by someone who introduces himself by saying one word.
Run.
This is when she meets the Doctor.
And we get a classic. There's pretty much... It feels like it's in nearly every Doctor Who episode. They run down a corridor.
Yeah. They run down the corridor. They run to a lift. One of the mannequins gets his hands caught in there, so the Doctor pulls it off and just chucks it at Rose.
She's quite impressed because she doesn't... She's like, oh, he's actually really plastic.
Yeah, she thinks it's uni students doing a prank together, and it can only be uni students because uni students would organise in this manner.
The only uni students would be like silly enough to do a prank like this. She asks about Wilson, the chief electrician, and the Doctor says, Wilson's dead. And she says, that's not funny, but no, Wilson's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. So the Doctor gets Rose to go out of the building, basically saying there's a transmitter on the roof and someone has to go destroy it, blah, blah, blah.
There's a couple of really great bits of dialogue here. Sorry to cut you off.
Go for it.
When they run off and the Doctor's explaining the living plastic and he shows Rose the bomb and he says, they're being controlled by a relay on the roof, which would be a great big problem if I didn't have this. So I'm going to go upstairs and blow it up and I might well die in the process. It's a great quote.
But it's like, don't worry about it. Go home, go have your like toast and beans and your tea.
And then he pops his head back out the door and says, what was your name? And she says, Rose Tidy. He goes, I'm the Doctor, by the way. Nice to meet you, Rose. Now run for your life.
And it's a good thing she did run because the building blows up in its horrible early 2000 TV budget glory.
Killing hundreds in the process. We actually don't find out in the episode. We'll talk about the novelization at the end, but we find out in the novel that there was no one in the building and that the Doctor made sure there was no one in the building, but that is not explained here. Although it does say on the news in a minute that no one dies, but it doesn't explain that the Doctor was the one who got them out.
So we are introduced to Jackie later in the day, who is on her phone talking to all her friends about like, oh my god, she almost survived, she should sue for compensation, tell her story to the news and everything. And Rose is just there looking done with her and her quick get rich quick scheme.
Oh yeah, does it? She gives her friends on the phone and she goes, give it here, and then just hangs it up.
Yeah. And then Mickey comes in looking just horrified. Oh my god, I thought you were dead, blah blah blah. It's like, oh, we can go down to the pub and you tell me all about it. He just wants to watch the footy. Rose just sends him on his way, going, don't worry about me, you can watch the footy. She wakes up 7:30 next day.
We kind of get a reframing of the day before, which is quite cool.
Yeah. But then Jackie immediately goes, there's no point in you waking up this early. You don't have a work to go to.
It's so... She says it like it's Rose's fault.
Yeah.
What do you think is shitty of her?
So then, while Rose is making breakfast, Jackie's just still talking her ear off, but she then hears the cat flap being messed around with. And she sticks her head underneath and sees like the screws are missing. Then she looks in a bit more and the Doctor's there.
The Doctor was supposed to apparently put his whole head through.
Yeah.
It was too small.
It didn't fit. Yeah. So the Doctor's there going like, what are you doing here? You're not made of plastic. Knocks her on the head like, no, all bone.
Rose drags him in and Jackie immediately tries to fuck him.
She's like, I'm in my nightgown. I was like, yes, you are. And there's a strange man in my room. Yes, there is. Well, who knows what could happen? No.
This scene has quite a bit going on in on it as the Doctor goes into the living room. He reads through a copy of Heat and says, that won't last, he's gay and she's an alien. Yeah. And then he speed reads a book and says, it was good but it had a sad ending. That book's Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. And we immediately learn two things about the Doctor. He knows which kind of people in pop culture are aliens and gay.
Yeah.
And he can speed read at a ridiculous rate.
He also makes fun of his ears, which is meant to allude to the fact that this is a recent regeneration for him.
Or is it?
Yeah.
I've got some notes about this after we gone through the thing. There's about
Yeah,
7 things we could say about this.
Yeah, I was gonna say this episode plays fast and loose with it.
We'll have a talk about it when we get to that section.
So the Doctor's looking around and finds the mannequin hand, which is still alive, and it tries to choke him. Rose thinks it's a joke, but then the Doctor is able to pull it off his throat, and then it attacks Rose.
And he goes through a few settings on the Sonic, and it takes a minute, and he finally shuts it down.
I think it's a great choice to quickly talk about the Sonic and its design.
Oh, I love it. In fact, I've got it here. Let me get it.
Yeah.
The 9th Doctor really and 10th Doctor Sonic screwdriver. My favourite.
It's a really good one.
Yes, and there's a little thing going on with the Sonic here. Jackie is using her hairdryer, and we later find out from I think it's the 10th Doctor, that hairdryers actually interfere with it, which is why it took him a few goes apparently to control the hand. Yeah,
that's actually interesting considering they don't actually allude to that in that episode.
Next, the Doctor leaves, and Rose says, "Hold on a minute, you can't just go swanning off." And he says, "Yes, I can. Look, here I am. This is me swanning off. See ya." The Doctor explains that he was just passing through, and he was here to help. Rose makes him explain how he stopped them at the shops stop the signal, and what their evil plan is. They want to overthrow the human race and take over because the plastic feeds off of noxious gases, and there's tons in our atmosphere already. But he's got some anti-plastic, which he's going to use to stop it. Oh yeah, we're just polluting the shit out of everything. And of course it would go to London. We get a great speech here from the Doctor to Rose about getting up and eating chips and watching TV. All the while there's a war going on. And this speech is repeated by Rose in The Parting of the Ways at the end of this series.
Yeah.
Which we'll refer back to when we get to it. But it's a nice, between episode 1 of the series and the last episode of the series, it's a nice framing device where the Doctor says it, and it feels like Rose learned that from the Doctor, and then she garbles it back off. Then we have what I think is one of the best quotes of the episode, but we're going to save that to the end, Tim. And anyone who listened to the last episode will know why. The Doctor says to forget him, and as they part, Rose hears the TARDIS, and she can't forget him. She looks around, tries to find what's happening, doesn't see the TARDIS, it's gone. And she's left confused, but she wants some more info, Tim, so where does she go?
She goes to the internet, mainly whoisdoctorwho.co.uk.
But she uses Mickey's computer, and he says, "Do not read my emails." Perv. I don't know what he's up to. She finally finds she uses a search engine, which is one of those TV search engines you're allowed to use, and she finally finds it by saying "Doctor" and blue box in the search engine, and that finds Who is Doctor Who, which is Clive's website. Mickey drops Rose at Clive's house. He's not happy about it.
No.
Clive's kid answers the door and says, "Dad, it's one of your nutters," which is a lovely line. When Clive comes, Rose says to him, "My boyfriend is waiting in the car in case you try to kill me." And Clive says, "Good point, no murders." And at this point, it's like, this dialogue already, 15 minutes into this episode, is much better than the movie dialogue.
Yeah, it feels more natural.
Yeah, it's witty and a little bit dry. And yeah, we didn't get any of that in the movie. As you said, Clive is played by Mark Benton, who's still acting these days. He was in quite a popular sitcom called Early Doors. He was in Second Coming with Chris Eccleston. He was in the Eddie the Eagle movie as well.
Oh, wow.
Clive's wife is surprised that the person who's come to find out about the Doctor is a she, which is really funny.
Yeah.
And then we go into Clive's shed. What happens in Clive's shed?
So this is where you see he has all these photos and images of the Doctor. And it's mainly just of the 9th Doctor, who's been travelling through time. And his theory at first is that the title is an inheritance passed down from father to son.
Who all have a very strong resemblance.
Yeah. But then you see a really badly CG photo of him JFK's assassination.
Yeah, at least the other two images are like drawn or like they're old photos, so they look fine. So like there's a photo from the Titanic and there's a drawing from Krakatoa. And they're not as bad, but the CGI JFK one is because like it's 2005. Good Photoshop existed.
Yeah. But also the Titanic one kind of goes against like who he is, because like he saves the family by not putting them on the Titanic.
Maybe he had a reason.
Like early Doctor would be like, unfortunately, you have to get on there.
Maybe he has a reason. We never find out. Maybe it'll be in one of the Ninth Doctor audio adventures.
I was gonna say it's gonna be a big finish.
Yeah. Mickey sees a wheelie bin moving outside and goes to investigate and gets sucked into it. The CGI here is okay. Better than it could be, but also not great.
It's at its worst when he's like going backwards and like trying to stretch the plastic. That's when it looks at its worst. You can clearly see like the points on his fingers where the bin is not attached. But again, it's a mid 2000s TV show. The CG was never going to be the best.
I mean, a BBC one as well. Like America, it's not even an American budget or anything.
Yeah.
Clive explains that he thinks the Doctor is the same person, an immortal man from another world. This is where Rose finally thinks he's nuts, when Clive's actually right, which is the funny thing. Back in the car, Mickey is clearly made out of plastic and talking weird, and Rose is so self-involved in the moment that she doesn't realise and says, let's go for pizza.
Yeah.
Plastic Mickey starts asking questions about the Doctor before he starts basically like malfunctioning. It's like, sugar, sweetheart, babe, darling.
And Rose is like, oh, I think something's up here.
Yeah, finally, you see like a waiter out of shot, but with a very familiar voice, saying, who ordered the champagne? And they're like, no one did. Before Mickey realizes it's the Doctor, and the Doctor shoots him in the head with the fucking champagne. The cork of the champagne, that is, not the whole bottle.
Yeah.
Then the plastic Mickey absorbs the cork and spits it back out before turning his hand into a giant mallet and smashing the shit out of the place. The Doctor pulls off Mickey's head, and Rose thinks quick and pulls the fire alarm and gets everyone out. Now, this is the first moment where you go, "Oh, she's good. No, Rose is good. She's got some smarts of her own."
Feet.
Yeah. The Doctor and Rose escape into the yard, and Rose panics as the Doctor goes to get in the TARDIS. She's like, "Don't go there. There's just wood. What are you doing?"
She just calmly walks in there.
Yeah, she thinks Mickey will break into it until she goes inside and has the moment, the classic run around after going inside, then coming back in and having the cool TARDIS, oh, it's bigger on the inside, what's going on here moment. And we get our first look at the coral grunge TARDIS, which is still my favourite.
Yeah, it's iconic at this point. You can't really beat it.
I suppose it was my first TARDIS as well.
Yeah, but I think it also suits Eccleston and later Tennant, like their emotional states as well. So it always like reflects dingier. How they are, how they're feeling at the moment. And I think it just works perfectly.
The Doctor attaches Plastic Mickey's head to the console and starts tracking the origin source of the signal that's controlling it. And at that moment, he decides to explain who he is and what the TARDIS is. But the Doctor doesn't consider what's going to happen to Mickey for reals. And he's like, Rose says, is he dead? And the Doctor's like, I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know, mate. Maybe. And as this happens, Mickey's head melts.
Yeah.
And we get a really good... This is one of my favourite little scenes. Another one of Rose kind of showing her worth. So as they're getting closer, the signal fades because the head melts. The Doctor lands and they're on the embankment. And this is where Rose at first decides to question why he has a northern accent. And what is his response?
Lots of planets have a north.
They do. The Doctor says the Nestian consciousness wants the Earth for its toxicity and wants it to be food. And then he says, oh, it needs to be broadcasting from like a big round metal object. Must be like totally invisible. And they're standing right in front of the London Eye. And
the
Rose
framing of that shot is just perfect.
Yeah, go watch that shot. Go watch this scene. It's so good. Like, it's just over his shoulder, and he looks over his shoulder and goes, what? And Rose is just nodding at it. And it takes him like 3 goes before he goes, fantastic, which is his catchphrase. And again, Rose using that common sense of humans.
Yeah.
that apparently the Doctor does not possess. They run over. Do you know what bridge they run over? Did you notice which bridge it was?
It wasn't Westminster, was it?
It was Westminster.
It
Look
was,
at
yeah.
you.
It had to be. That's the closest one to
The Eye.
London
Yeah.
Eye, yeah.
They're holding hands, but like keeping pace. They're not. The Doctor isn't dragging her. They're at the same pace, like they're a team. All the plastic starts coming to life. Rose comments that the breast implants probably do as well. Rose is then the one who finds the entrance under the London Eye. She's very good. They go underground and find the hideout of the Nestine. The Doctor explains that he's not here to kill it. He just wants to give it a chance. The Doctor invokes the Shadow Proclamation, which we learn a lot more about later. But this is the first time we hear it.
Yeah.
The Nestine, as you said, voiced by the legend Nicholas Briggs, who also voices Daleks, Cybermen, later the Jadoon. He's directed loads of Big Finish stuff. Doctor Who legend, essentially.
Yeah.
They find the real Mickey, who is cowering like a wimp. The Doctor does another great quote here. If I might observe, you infiltrated this civilization by means of warp shunt technology. So may I suggest, with the greatest of respect, that you shunt off. Again, just good dialogue. Like, we didn't get any of that in the movie. Some Autons grab the Doctor as he is giving a speech. So Autons are the living plastic mannequins.
But they're never called Autons in the show, in this episode.
Which is why we've not mentioned it. They don't mention it, so why should we? The Nestine has found the TARDIS, brings it into the base, and he's now scared because he knows it from the Time War. So, the Doctor says it's because it's superior technology. But, you know, their feeding planets were lost in the Time War, so I'm saying he knows that the Doctor's a Time Lord and he's a bit...
He's just jealous of my superior technology. That's why he's acting out.
Rose calls Jackie and tries to send her home, but she doesn't listen. The Nestine sends its signal to start all the mannequins moving. Some dummies come alive, and you know what they do? I can't believe they do this to him.
I don't think we should say it to us. It's too tragic.
No, we have to tell the audience. They kill Clive. How could they? Fucking love you.
Anyway,
Clive.
moving on.
Jackie runs away, as she should. Russell T Davies actually wanted this to recreate the Autons breaking through a shop window as they did in Spearhead from Space, which was the first John Pertwee story.
Yes.
But actually, they could smash proper glass and make it look cool, but they couldn't do that in Spearhead from Space because they had to cut some from the budget.
Yes.
The Doctor tells Rose to run. She tries the TARDIS, but it's locked and then thinks, fuck it, I've not got any qualifications, but I did do gymnastics when I was fucking 7. And she swings off.
A bronze medal.
She did get a bronze medal. She swings off a fucking chain like Tarzan, kicks the Autons off of the Doctor and the anti-plastic into the Nestine. She's a fucking hero. And all this after Mickey said to leave the Doctor. Mickey's a cunt. The Doctor, Rose, and Mickey escape the explosion as the Nestine dies in the TARDIS. Apparently, anti-plastic causes the Nestine to explode. It's not explained, but it happens. All the mannequins stop and fall in place. The TARDIS lands, and Rose checks on Jackie calling her again, but hangs up when she answers, which is really funny. She's like, oh yeah, you're fine. No worry.
Yeah.
Rose points out the Doctor would be dead if it wasn't for her, and he agrees, and he invites her to come along anywhere in the universe, but Mickey is not invited. And she says no. And that's the end of the first series.
No.
Oh no. Sorry, yeah. The Doctor comes back with the TARDIS straight away and says it also travels in time. And then she's like, oh yeah, fuck yeah.
And that's the end of the first episode.
Yeah.
But there is more.
So that's it, the end of Rose. Just a quick rundown, as quick as we could pretty much do it without leaving too much out.
Everything ends. And it's always sad. But everything begins again too. And that's why I was happy.
Tim, most favourite moments, least favourite moments, good quotes?
Well, I mean, I just love like the whole reveal of the Autons at the start, where they're actually treated to be quite scary.
Yeah, well, the guns in the hand stop them from being like a novelty, don't they? They actually look.
Yeah, but just like that, just an initial scene where you just see all of them come to life. Especially, I remember seeing that like when I was like young, because obviously never watched like old Doctor Who, so I didn't know what autons were. So just seeing that happen, like, oh, that's interesting.
My favourite scene is when Rose meets Clive, because of course, it's like someone like the Doctor leaves a footprint, and
Yeah,
conspiracy theories just fucking take it up. I love that. The novel's got even more elaborate sightings and stuff, like up to Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. They are mentioned in there, and so are the old
yeah,
Doctors.
because it was written like after Jodie's or during Jodie's run,
I think it was
so
during Jodie's run, yeah.
they could implement more of her. I love like obviously the fantastic bit with the wheel, London Eye. I think that reveal is just so well shot and just so well framed.
The hold on a minute, you can't just go swanning off bit always gets me. He's like, yes, I can. Here I am. This is me swanning off. It's almost like rhythmical. It's lovely.
Yeah, and just obviously the banter, like playfulness between Rose and the Doctor, like for a first episode, like
It really
immediately established.
establishes
Yeah,
a rapport. And actually, if you watch the confidential of this, you see that Eccleston and Billy Piper do immediately start to kind of be able to communicate quite quickly. There's a bit where they're
yeah,
improvising of the bit about the planet having a north. They're kind of workshopping it a little bit, maybe like obviously you could change like connecting words to fit your dialogue better, your speech pattern better, and that's that they're kind of working their way around it, and you can tell that they're already getting on. There's another quote I like where Rose says, "I'll go to the police." She said, "If I go to the police, everyone's going to die. That's your choice. Tell me, or I'll start talking." And the Doctor says, "Is that supposed to sound tough?" And she says, "Sort of." And he says, "It doesn't work." And then he goes, "Who are you?" He's like, "I told you, the Doctor." Just the Doctor. She says, "Is that supposed to sound tough?" And he's sound impressive. He says, "Sort of, yeah." Just kind of like mirrors what she says. And so again,
yeah.
it's that nice interaction, that back and forth.
That's who I am. The Time Lord Victorious.
Before I go, I just want to tell you, you were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And you know what? So was I.
Tim, Time Lord Victorious or Time Lord Fantastic? Did the Doctor live up to his promise to never be cruel and cowardly? Was he heroic? Was he selfish?
Oh, he was definitely heroic, and like he acted by his own code in the sense that he wanted to resolve it as peacefully as possible, but he had to use the anti-plastic as like a last like thing. And even then, it wasn't him who used it; it was Rose, technically.
Yeah, I'd say he verges on, like, he is definitely on the fantastic side, but there are a couple of moments where he's like, doesn't think about whether Mickey's dead, and where he comes across a very alien. But he then says, "Well, I'm trying to save the whole world. I can't."
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry if he's gone, but I can't focus on everything.
And also considering how Mickey acts towards him, I think it's fair enough.
But yeah, Mickey kind of does that later, though.
This episode of Timey Wimey Rewind is sponsored by Hendrick's Department Store. Whether you're looking for a bottle of champagne, a new cat flap, or even some snazzy new designer wares that are all displayed on our wonderful mannequins, you need Hendrick's Department Store.
What about the effects this has on the Whoniverse, and then the effects it had on us as the real world, as the viewers?
Well, I mean, brand new Doctor.
Yes.
It brought Doctor Who back into the mainstream, especially after like 16 years.
Yeah, I mean, people are still obsessed with this version. Like, it hasn't stopped since 2005. People look at every scrap of media, and it's all because this episode brought it back.
And what the other big thing was, it set up the Time War as a concept.
Yes, and immediately already we get the start of the bad wolf paradox.
Yes.
Which we'll explain as we go through this series.
Do you know, in 900 years of time and space, I've never met anyone who wasn't important before.
So, Tim, nobody important. Who is your favourite tertiary character? And if it isn't the same one as mine, you're wrong.
It's obviously Clive.
It is 100% Clive. He is my
Who else would it be?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be the old
Clive's son.
Yeah, the sassy little bastard. No, yeah, Clive is the best. I love Clive. In our next episode, we actually have a bit more of a choice on the
Yeah.
But Clive is the
whole
only choice.
range.
Like the fact that he's like a conspiracy nut, but actually gathers like solid evidence. I like that.
Well, he was basically right, and he paid the price for that, essentially.
Tell me the whole plan.
One day that'll work.
Tell me your plan, Tim. How would you rate the villain's plan, the Nestine, out of 10? Come on, what did you give him?
I give it a solid 8.
Solid 8. I went lower. I went a 7 because the idea is solid, and they worked with the resources they had. Problem is their resources were shit.
I think that's why I gave it 8. It had shit resources, and they were able to do so much. And basically, it would have worked if Rose wasn't there.
It would have worked if it wasn't for that meddling kid.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, yeah. I mean, it makes sense as a plan. You know, the Earth is full of toxins.
Yeah, and everyone's scared of mannequins, so.
Oh, they are creepy, aren't they?
So what do? You give a mannequin a gun?
Right then, I'll be off. Unless, I don't know, you could come with me. He's not invited.
So, what happened to those characters that were left behind? We kind of only have one character, and there is a bit more about him. So, obviously, we know that Clive died here. But as we see, he's got a whole family, and it's kind of almost insinuated that they're murdered. We find out in the book that they're not. But Clive does have an interesting backstory. So, he doesn't have an interesting thing going forward because he dies. But backstory, his dad was killed by Daleks.
Oh.
In the Shoreditch incident, which is a Seventh Doctor, what is it, Remembrance of the Daleks?
Yes, that'll be, yeah.
And it's a battle between the Doctor of the Daleks, and Clive's dad was there, and he gets killed.
Oh.
He also, when he was 12, had a brief trip in the TARDIS.
What?
So he saw the 12th Doctor using coins from 1987 in 1975, followed him, and the Doctor gave him a little trip and then blurred his memory. But that is apparently what leads to it, because there's something in the back of his head, leads to his persistence in chasing the Doctor.
Right.
So like a throwback retcon. I think it's in one of the comic books.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about those kind of like retcons where they go, this nobody important character, they were actually bigger and more important than you expected because he actually met another Doctor when he was younger.
I don't mind his dad being killed by the Daleks as a reason why he's obsessed with.
Yeah, I don't mind that aspect. It's the going into the TARDIS and having his memory wiped thing.
Yeah, I thought that was shitty too.
What is this? Who is he?
An Easter egg.
Easter eggs, Timothy. So, as I said, Jackie's hairdryer fucks with Sonic's. And now I've got the episode here that I said. It's Silence in the Library, where the 10th Doctor says it doesn't work around hairdryers.
That's like that's like 3 seasons away.
Yeah, Russell T Davies, though, still in charge. That is a Moffat episode, though, Silence in the Library.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Clive's website, Who's Doctor Who, was actually up and running for quite a long time. I think it's only recently been disconnected.
Yes.
It's straight to the main site now.
Yeah, because I was researching it. It said up until 2024. So I went on the website. No, gone. So it's kaput now.
Completely gone. 9 being at the Kennedy assassination is possibly a nod to the first episode. The Unearthly Child, the very first episode. Which went out the day. It went out the day after the Kennedy assassination. And it got really poor ratings because obviously everyone was just watching the news. So it actually got replayed. I think it was a week later and got much better ratings.
Ah, good.
So the Kennedy assassination nearly messed with the show. So I think that was like a... It's pretty Easter egg light, this episode, because I think Rusty Davies didn't want to upset new viewers, didn't want to like push them away. Technical malfunction here. Tim's new Gorillapod does not work.
Yep. There we go. Perfect.
I mean...
There we go.
Anything's an improvement on a straight shot of your face, Tim. So, like I was trying to say before you rudely interrupted, this is pretty Easter egg light, and I think it's because Russell T Davies wanted it to be standalone for new viewers.
Yeah.
I don't think he wanted to be like all the old school people being like, oh, look at that one and that one and that one, and the new people are like, I don't get all this, I'm not watching anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a little Easter egg that I'm not sure if it was intentional. I found it and was like, is this be intentional? Because it's pretty convoluted, but I'll tell you it anyway. So when Rose is using Mickey's computer, in the background, there is a yellow, on the wall, there is a yellow sticker that says 46 on it. Now, apparently, that is the number and colour scheme for Valentino Rossi, who is a racing driver. Now, why is this important? Because his nickname was apparently the Doctor. Now, Russell T Davies does have that kind of attention to detail, but would he do all that and not put something else in Clive's shed? Just like one other nod, like one other
exactly.
Little... I don't know. It's there. It could be intentional. It could not be. Have you got any
we'll go with it is.
Sorry?
We'll go with that it is.
There have always been rumours, stories passed from traveller to traveller, mutterings about hidden streets.
Have you got any rumours, Timothy?
Only that Clive was originally going to be played by Mackenzie Crook.
Yes, I would call that a rumour, but yeah, that is... I've got that written in another set. Maybe, yeah, call it a rumour. Yes, Mackenzie Crook, that is an interesting one as well. Big, at this point, he was quite big because The Office had been on.
Yes.
Yeah.
But would he have just done Pirates at the time? The first one?
I don't know when that came out. I'm not a huge fan of Pirates of the Caribbean, if I'm honest with you.
And the other thing is that the original director for this episode was going to be Edgar Wright.
Yes, Rusty Davies got in contact, and the only reason he didn't do it, what was it, Tim?
Shaun of the Dead.
He was making Shaun of the Dead at the same time.
Which just celebrated its 20th anniversary.
Yay! And obviously Doctor Who's about to celebrate the 20th anniversary of New Who next year.
Yay.
Next March. It's speculated that the Nestine, when it talks, you hear it does say something in English, and people thought it said Bad Wolf, but the subtitles actually say Time Lord.
Okay.
This was produced. The speculation that this was produced as a pilot, and that if it didn't go well, it wouldn't have gone on. But that's not true. It was always scheduled for 13 episodes.
Yeah, I mean that's how we do it here in the UK. We don't just do pilots; we do a whole thing.
Yeah. I mean they do happen, but they're not as common as they are in America for sure.
Yeah.
You tell me.
Spoilers.
So spoilers. So again, we're very early on. Is there anything setting up a story arc already? And the only thing that I can
Wolf.
consider is Bad Wolf, and not really a spoiler, but this is only 2 months and 4 days after Rose met the 10th Doctor briefly on New Year's Eve.
Oh yeah, she's going to have a fantastic year.
Yes, so in a way, he spoiled that for her. So notes from the commentary / Doctor Who Confidential or wherever we get them, possibly IMDb and TARDIS Wiki.
Yes. I feel like we have a lot of the same trivia here.
A copy of this story was leaked online, downloadable on peer-to-peer downloading networks, and was released several weeks before the episode was released. Only difference is the music was a bit different. It had the classic music as opposed to Murray Gold's music. Now, there is a slight rumour that apparently it was leaked on purpose, but there's no evidence to...
Yeah, and they're never going to admit it.
No. This is the first story to feature the new TARDIS console room, which has the kind of organic thing and not like its predecessor. We don't find out until is it Children in Need special, Time Crash, with the 5th Doctor and the 10th Doctor, where you can change the desktop theme. And this one's called Coral. As we both said, Tim, the word Auton does not appear in the episode, but it is in the shooting script.
And it's in the credits as well.
It's in the credits, yeah.
So this episode did so well that a second season and a Christmas special were commissioned just on the strength of this episode alone.
I know, that's amazing, right? That's so cool.
Well, she said 10 million people?
10.81. So nearly 11. Yeah.
Yes, that's fantastic. So we said in the last episode that neither of us watched this live, so we wouldn't have heard about this. So in the very first transmission of this episode, they accidentally played the Graham Norton voiceover, which Julie Gardner immediately called the BBC switchboard, and they managed to fix it just in time for the Doctor to say his first line.
I know, it was all over while Rose was being scared by the Ortons. it's really funny. Graham Norton has actually become a bit of a menace to Doctor Who. So in a big Matt Smith moment in, I can't remember what the episode's called, but it's the one with the Weeping Angels in the down ship.
Oh,
yeah.
Forest of the No. That's it.
It's that one. It's the one I mean. We'll get to it in good time. But when that first broadcast, a little graphic of his come up advertising the show, but it was over like a really important speech Matt Smith was doing. Which, yeah. So Graham Norton is the menace of Doctor Who. This is one of the very few episodes that doesn't have a cold open.
Yeah.
Goes straight into the title sequence, which doesn't normally happen.
And this is the only episode of Doctor Who that introduces a new Doctor that actually doesn't run longer than the average length of 44 minutes.
Standard length episode, yeah.
Yeah. There's also a bit of a goof.
Go on then.
So when Rose thinks Mickey's dead, she says, "Oh, I'm going to have to tell his mum." But we later find out in Age of Steel, the Cybermen episode, that Mickey's an orphan who lives with his grandmother.
Maybe, slip of the tongue. Maybe she meant his grandma. We can headcanon
that or Russell just didn't write up that narrative.
No one cares about Mickey. Rose, no one cares about Mickey to the point Rose forgot he didn't have a mum. Bless Mickey. There's also a first in this episode. We see the inside of the TARDIS from the outside. It was always like just a black hole before.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, this is a little tidbit that I like. They tried it in An Unearthly Child, which is the very first episode in 1963, and the bit they tried to do it, and it apparently didn't look great, and they didn't use it for the broadcast. But the fact they tried it and they went nah, and then not till 2005 did it ever come into anyone's brain to go, why don't we try to see the inside of the TARDIS from the outside?
Yeah, it would be a good idea. Also, just a funny thing that Mickey's flat is the exact same set as Rose Tyler's. It's just redecorated.
Yeah, I presume, because this is the only time we see Mickey's flat, I think. I presume they did it at the end. They did all of the stuff in the Tyler's flat. They must have done for the series, right?
Yeah.
And then repurposed it. Russell T Davies is the first author of an original Doctor Who spin-off fiction to write a TV episode. So he wrote a 7th Doctor novel called Damaged Goods for Virgin New Adventures. And then he went on to be a writer for the show. And the lead writer, in fact, the head writer. No one had ever done that before. Paul McGann offered to come and do a regeneration scene, but Russell, again, this going in with what I said about the Easter eggs, thought it might confuse new viewers and just wanted to have like a fresh start. Russell has also said that the mirror scene, where you said about the post-regeneration, isn't supposed to be a fresh regeneration. It's supposed to be like, if you had a physical feature that was very prominent, you might look at it in the mirror every time you see it and go, ugh. You know, so like you with your face.
He doesn't play it that way.
But you with your face, you must go, oh, this thing, you know.
This whole thing.
So, yeah, well, his thing is apparently if you had 8 or 9 other faces, you'd probably lament any minor flaws in your new face even more.
Yeah.
He says the Krakatoa and Titanic stuff was always meant to be before this. And in the day of the Doctor novelization, the Ninth Doctor does destroy all the mirrors on the TARDIS, which probably took a while. This also isn't the first episode where the Doctor gets distracted and doesn't know what he looks like. Oh no, this is the first one, sorry. But there's another one in the future. In the 11th hour, the 11th Doctor, when he's brand new, sees Prisoner Zero making a hologram of him. And he doesn't know who it is because he's not looked at his face yet. So he just sees this hologram of himself and he goes, who's that? Which is really great. The Ninth Doctor had at least one adventure in that time before he told Rose, or between telling Rose that it travels anywhere in the universe and coming back and saying it travels in time. And that is in a book called The Beast of Babylon. He definitely did. That moment he disappears, he fucks off for a whole adventure and comes straight back.
But when does the Big Finish storylines fall into this place then?
I don't know. Probably before, I guess. It's not really explained, I don't think.
No.
Eccleston wasn't a fan of Doctor Who before taking the role. He only took it because he liked Russell T Davies at the time. He doesn't anymore.
Yeah.
There's an interesting interview on the Blu-ray where he says he's asked if he'll do more than one series, and this is obviously after the shooting's wrapped, and it's clear that he's not coming back. But he doesn't give them an answer. It's quite funny. Apparently, he requested to be auditioned, and Russell didn't even consider him. He didn't think he'd be interested. He would love to have had him, but obviously he did because he cast him.
Yeah.
But he didn't think he'd be interested in doing it. There's a Radio Times interview with Eccleston 8 years after he left, and he explained or hinted at his feud with Russell. He says, "My relationship with my three immediate superiors, the showrunner, the producer, and the co-producer, broke down irreparably during the first block of filming, so right at the beginning, and it never recovered. They lost trust in me, and I lost faith and trust and belief in them." Apparently, there was a flaming couch that was supposed to fly out of Hendrix, and the stunt to fire it went wrong, and some people could have got hurt, and Chris thought there wasn't enough care taken.
Wow.
That's the rumor anyway. That's something I found out. I don't know if it's true. That's just what I've heard out there. When he left, he gave his word to Russell T Davies that he wouldn't do anything to damage the show.
Yeah.
And as long as they didn't criticize his performance. And to this day, Russell's never said a word, actually. He always says he loves Chris's performance. And Eccleston still says he's very proud of this first series.
Yeah.
But he won't come back as long as Russell's in charge.
This is fair enough.
Sylvester McCoy's a big fan of this episode and loved Eccleston and Piper's performances. According to Russell T Davies, the Time War was started due to the events depicted in the Fourth Doctor Adventure, Genesis of the Daleks. Yeah. And he had that in his mind when he wrote this.
I mean, that makes sense considering like what happens in Genesis.
Yes. Now, the burning footage of the department store that was played on the news at Rose's flat, that is actually a fire at Cowgate in Edinburgh in 2002, and they used the footage. Right near the Gilded Balloon comedy venue, and I love that place. The episode name was originally called Rose Meets the Doctor, but they kind of brought it down.
I mean, Rose is more impactful.
Yeah. It was Rose. Originally, it's called Rose Meets the Doctor and the Journey Begins. Then Rose Meets the Doctor, then just Rose. The BBC wanted the Daleks to be the very first enemy. And Russell was like, no, save it for mid-series. We'll need a bump. And he was right. Now, Tim, on target, did you or did you not read or consume the novelization of this?
I did not.
So you're leaving it to me.
Yes.
Doing all the hard graft.
Yes.
I actually read this one as well. I didn't listen to the audiobook. I've got it. See it on my shelf there. There is the novelization of this episode. So let's go. I'll be quick if I can. We learn a bit more about Wilson, who was the chief electrician. There was apparently an incident with someone who worked in the store in 1973, and he was originally higher up, and then he got demoted down to the basement. He gets called King of the Rats. He's the one who takes the lottery money, but he actually never cashes it in.
Oh.
He just keeps all their money.
Jesus.
Apparently, on the night of the explosion, a woman would have won the lottery thing from her lucky dip because she's knew from her numbers. And as before the Doctor blew the place up, Winston was planning to burn it down to hide the evidence that he'd been stealing the money. Which is such a extra bit of story. But then he gets killed by the Ortons, obviously.
That's...
Rose left Mickey for a guy called Jimmy Stones when they were in sick form, and she dropped out of sick form, which we don't hear in this.
They mentioned Jimmy in the episode.
Yeah, it's like a passing remark, isn't it? She says, Jimmy Stones, when she's looking for a new job. It says it's all his fault. But they make it sound like maybe he was from before Mickey.
Yeah.
But in this, we find out that Mickey was both sides of Jimmy Stones. The news said all the overnight staff were sent to other stores via an anonymous memo, which is where we find out. Also, in this one, the Doctor laments not being ginger, like he does in future incarnations.
It's a running joke.
Yeah. Rose believes the hand strangling the Doctor straight away. Not like she did in this. She doesn't think he's pissing around. And in fact, to try and get it off, they fall through Jackie's glass table, and Rose is straddling the Doctor to try and get it off, and Jackie walks in and calls her a tart. We find out a bit more about Mickey's life. He lives with some friends, including a gay guy, or two gay guys, and a trans girl.
Mickey does?
Yes.
Weirdly, I don't think Mickey would be that tolerant, especially in 2005.
Well, apparently he is. This is the novelization is actually written by Russell T Davies as well. So,
oh, interesting.
Clive's website has more pictures on it, including past Doctors and some future ones we see up to Jodie. Mickey's housemates are also, including Mickey, all in a band, and one of the names suggested for the band is Bad Wolf because they can't settle on one. We see a few more details of the emails between Rose and Clive. Clive also has information on Unit and Torchwood, including torn up calendars, which is there's a little joke talking about the Unit dating controversy, which is a very niche fanboy joke from the 70s and 80s stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Where everything was misdated. Clive's dad, this is where we find out he was killed by a Dalek. It's from the book. Clive explains his theories on why people don't remember the aliens' attacks, including cracks in time, which we find out later is true. Rose noticed plastic Mickey in this, but she thinks he's got a fever or something, so he looks shiny. The Doctor gets a cut when he falls through Jackie's table, and by the time they reach the Thames later on, Rose notices that it's healed. So the Doctor says that was weeks ago.
What?
Yeah, so apparently he disappears for quite a while between seeing her. Rose figures out that the TARDIS disappears and reappears by herself. The Doctor doesn't have to tell her. The Doctor explains that the Nestine and the Ortons were bystanders in the Time War. The Nestine apparently used to be flesh and blood, and it kind of devolved into this plastic somehow. The Doctor actually uses the word Ortons. When they get to the Thames, the embankment, there are human statues. You know, the people that stand very still and get paid money. Yeah. But it turns out they're just Ortons as well. There's a homeless man, a ballerina, and a knight, and they chase them. Rose says she's coming with the Doctor, and he says they always say that with a sad smile. Mickey, when Rose finds Mickey in the base, in the Orton's base, it's actually another fake Orton Mickey. And to long out this scene, she tells Mickey the plan, and then this fake Mickey tells the Nestine about the anti-plastic, and that's when they grab the Doctor. The real Mickey then gets dumped through a disposal tube. Some of the London Eye collapses.
Okay.
Jackie and some friends or some former employees of Hendrix are waiting outside because apparently the owner's going to show up. Mickey's flatmates go looking for Mickey when they're worried because he doesn't show up to their gig. There's loads. It's so much different to the main episode. Clive's shopping with his family, and he's thinking about Rose, so we kind of get some of his thoughts about it. And we get Clive's wife's thoughts in the background, where she loves him because he's a bit of a bumbling idiot in this, and you wouldn't see why she sticks around with him. But she says one of the reasons she likes him is because he's so passionate, including about the Doctor. Clive remembers stuff from his files about the Ortons when they start moving, and Clive actually protects his family. He stands in the way. It gives them the extra few seconds to run away.
Oh.
The son of the Hendrix owner arrives, and it turns out he's a prick. And he's going to sue the staff for blowing up the shop.
Of course.
He has a wife and a boyfriend. But all three of them get killed, so it's fine. Rosie's ex, Jimmy Stones, is conning a new rich girlfriend and robbing her while she's out with her friends. And then he gets killed by Ortons.
Jesus Christ.
We get a little cameo from Donna.
What?
She slept through the whole thing because she was drunk the night before and told her co-worker she loved them.
Jesus.
Classic Donna. The end just goes on. There's explosions at the Eye. The Doctor throws Rose the TARDIS key to escape. The Eye collapses. Clive's wife remembers variants of the Doctor, and she swears revenge.
What, on the Doctor?
Yeah. Rose calls Jackie from the TARDIS and says the call is clear and perfect because the TARDIS gave it a boost, apparently. The Doctor shows Rose a view of Earth from the TARDIS before they takes her back down. Mickey doesn't believe it's real. The TARDIS lands near the wreckage of Hendrix and not in an alleyway. And that's all the differences. But fuck me, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, it's like Russell wrote this. Imagine if he had a bigger budget.
There's also 3 side stories that don't matter and stuff, but it's fine.
We're all capable of the most incredible change. We can evolve while still staying true to who we are.
What would you change about this episode if you could, if anything?
I would honestly make when they address it in the Target novel, just have Rose be a bit more aware that there's something different about Mickey. Because they make it so blatantly obvious that he looks different. So at least an acknowledgement of oh, maybe he's not feeling well, blah blah blah, would just change up. But overall, there's not really much I changed about the episode. It's really solid.
There's only one thing that I can think of. I really wish Clive had more info or more visible information on the other Doctors for us to see.
That's true.
I know obviously he can't do the Jodie Whittaker stuff, but all the previous incarnations would have been cool.
Yeah.
Just to let because it isn't until halfway through Tennant's run that you find out that the classic series is still canon.
Yeah.
Even if I change, it feels like dying. Everything I am dies. Some new man goes sauntering away.
Would you like to have seen any other Doctor in this episode?
Jodie, just because I wanted to see how she would interact with Rose.
Yeah, imagine. So I've written that she would be my second option because I think they would have a load of fun.
Yeah,
I think they would get on because they'd have a laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
I would also like to see the 8th Doctor have a crack, but he's sarcastic. That we get in the Big Finish ones and stuff, and in the
yeah.
Because imagine him Rose saying, you can't just swan off or whatever. And he's just I think he'd be even drier than the 9th one.
Yeah, exactly.
Donnie, I'm here for fun.
Tim, I'm going to leave this to you. What do you think? I mean, you didn't read the book, and there's most of it in the book. But any queer reading from this episode,
apart from the Doctor being able to tell when someone's gay?
Yes.
There's not really much. No, they play it quite straight. Yes, that is a pun.
The book, like I said, has a bunch of queer characters.
Yeah. I think that's just Russell himself, going, oh, I add a lot of queer content now to everything. I'm going to add into Doctor Who, and obviously now he's made Doctor Who more queer.
Yeah. Well, the Doctor's an alien from another planet. Why would he conform to those stereotypes?
Exactly.
Right, Tim, it's time. I've not even thought about how I'm going to do this.
Neither have I. I've been spending the whole episode trying to figure it out.
I might just do, I feel like there's one accent that I'm quite good at, and there's no reason I would do it for this. There's no link. I can't really do a northern accent like Christopher Eccleston. Maybe I should practice and do it for another episode. But I know what I'm going to do. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Oh, you go first this time. I think it's fair.
Right. G'day. Do you know, we were saying about the Earth revolving? When you're a kid, right? The first time they tell you the world's turning and you just can't quite believe it because everything looks like it's standing still. I can feel it. The turn of the Earth. The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. And I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me. Clinging to the skin of this tiny little world. And if we let go... Then there's a bit where he drops a hand and it's quite visual. We can't do that. That's who I am. Now forget me, Rose Tyler. Go on home. I hope you enjoyed that, Tim.
I did.
And bear in mind, if I There's about 4 things I'll resort to if I haven't thought of an idea, and Australian will be one of them. You can thank our friend Matt for that.
Good old mini Matt. Okay. All right. Bonjour.
Oh, god damn it. We're just going to wake our way through all these horrible accents.
The funny fact is, I was actually born in France, so my accent should be authentic.
Well, we'll see. Oh yeah, I forget you're like half French or whatever it is, isn't it?
Do you know, like we were saying about the Earth revolving? It is like when you're a kid, the first time they tell you the world is turning, and you just can't quite believe it because everything looks like it's standing still. I can feel it. The turn of the earth, the ground beneath our feet spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. The entire planet is hurling around the sun at 7,000 miles per hour, and I can feel it. We are falling through space, you and moi, clinging to the skin of this tiny little world. And if we let go, that is who I am. Now forget me, Rose Tyler. Go home.
Oh, the last episode, which hasn't got out yet, but if I haven't won on the poll, I'll be shocked. This episode, this is actually a competition now, Tim. You bought some game. Like
I don't know. The French was getting better and better as it was coming along.
You found your groove. So I don't think did I introduce that properly? Our little monologue challenge we like to do. We pick what is possibly like the best or most legendary quote from the episode and try to be silly with it, or try to be serious with it, as Tim tried to be last time.
Yeah, I tried.
That speech wasn't in the original script. The episode was underrunning by a few minutes, and Russell wrote that as almost filler. And honestly, I think it's one of the best scenes in the episode.
Yeah, I'm surprised that's filler, considering like how important I would almost argue it is to just give a quick snapshot of who the Doctor is.
Yeah, like kind of the grandiose nature of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's really shocking to me.
Timothy, what would you rate this episode?
I would give this a solid 8 out of 10.
Nice. Care to say where it dropped those 2 points?
I think one, as it being a pilot story, is quite small in scale.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that limits it. And I also think if you're already a fan of Doctor Who and it's doing that whole like mystery build up of who the Doctor is, it gets kind of annoying, because it's interesting seeing it from a different character's point of view, but you're also just waiting for the shoe to drop and just to go, okay, we can now fully reveal who this person is, kind of thing.
Waiting for the shoe to drop, is that the saying?
Yeah, other shoe to drop, I think that's what
other
it is.
Shoe, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, me personally, not just strictly because of the content, I will give this 10 out of 10 for a couple of reasons. It relaunched the series in a fucking amazing way. This, like you said, this first episode was strong enough to commission a second series with another Doctor and a Christmas special. And I didn't watch this till 2007. As I explained in our last episode, I didn't start watching it till 2 years after this came out. And honestly, this episode was enough for me to go, I'm in. Is it perfect? No. But in terms of how important I think this episode is, it's 10 out of 10. Because it did the job it had to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing we should have covered that I meant to cover earlier that I forgot to write down is how this was released. So obviously we had the broadcast release, and then we had the original DVD release. Like you said, it came out in the last episode. It came out in the vanilla 3-episode DVDs. Yes. Then it came out as the full series in DVD. This was then released on a non-upscaled Blu-ray as part of Series 1. And apparently it was 4% slower, unrecognizable mostly. But it's something to do with the transfer to Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But it was then re-released late last year, 2023, on non-laggy Blu-ray with upscaling, which is how I watched it, Timothy.
How is the upscaling on that? Because I've been very tempted to pick up those Blu-rays.
I would say they're worth picking up for sure. It looks great. One thing we'll see in the next episode is They actually look so good, they expose some of the CGI as being a bit worse.
Oh, God.
So, like, the actual filming, like just the straight filming of the characters looks amazing. But any heavy CGI, and I don't know, obviously that'll probably get less and less as the series go through, but any heavy CGI, sometimes the outlines don't look quite right.
I just remembered what's going to happen in the next episode, and that scene already, even on BBC iPlayer, doesn't look good.
Well, that's because it's marginally upscaled on there, right, to play on a HD thing. But I remember on the DVDs, I don't recall it looking that shoddy.
Yeah,
well, it doesn't look shoddy, but I can't remember seeing an obvious kind of glaring slight mark on the CGI.
Yeah,
but still, I'd say if you're a cinephile like myself and yourself, they're probably worth picking up, especially if you've got a good TV to play it on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, that's it. That is our rundown of Rose, Timothy. We've got a couple of things coming up. We've got another episode of Timey, Wimey Rewind in a couple of weeks. We'll be looking at the end of the world. But also, still on the back burner, watch the main series timeline for Tim.
As mentioned in the last episode, Primeval. We'll be looking at the first 2 series of that show. Another nice little time travel based show running around about the same time as Doctor Who, as ITV's attempt at doing something like that. I still think it's a classic, but we're going to see what Bobby thinks of it.
That'll still be at least a few weeks from now, a little bit behind End of the World. But they're both coming, and I'm looking forward to talking about both of them. Timothy, where can we find you on the socials?
You can find me at the Tim Martini on all social media platforms. That be Instagram, TikTok, X. Those are just the main 3.
You can find me at bdavies_creative on Instagram and X mostly. I did do some TikTok stuff. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it. Have a look if you want. You can follow us at CC Society Pod. We are still that everywhere. If you can't find us that way, just look up Cult Classic Society. There'll be some content. I have started using the X again. So, for some context, our first series about the TV movie, it hasn't quite released yet at the time of us recording this. We're kind of getting ahead of the game like we used to be, Tim, back in the day, which we're not anymore. But I've started using some X, interacting with some of the Doctor Who community. They're lovely people in the main. And yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing to interact with people.
Yeah, as Bobby said, if you want to interact with us, you know where to find us.
Yes, that is it from me, and all I'll say is au revoir, Timothy.
I'll give that a solid 6.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys next time.
The TARDIS fast, echoes of the past. Rose and Doc, they blast through time zones so fast. London streets, they run, aliens for fun. Tons off the gun, episode 1's begun. Timey, Wimey, rewind, Rose and Doc combined. Reliving through the grind, moments we will find. Plastic all around, danger in the town. Ninth Doc laying it down in his leather-bound gown. Riding through the year 2005 is clear. Echoing the cheer for Rose, the crowd will steer. Through the year 2005 is clear, echoing the cheer for Rose, the crowd will steer. Riding through the year 2005 is clear, echoing the cheer for Rose, the crowd will steer.